Dreadlocks question and answer video where you guys post questions for me to attempt to answer as best I can. This is Dreadlocks Q&A episode 50, which is quite a high number. I've sat down 50 times now to answer these questions, and it means that I've answered over 250 Dreadlocks Q&A questions, so there's quite a lot of information out there now. If you have somehow miraculously managed to watch all my Dreadlock Q&As, I would be highly impressed and slightly scared maybe, but you have definitely unlocked some sort of achievement there. The first question I've got this week is from Piper Lunsford, and Piper asks, question, does curly hair dread easier than straight hair, or does hair type even matter? There can certainly be noticeable differences between people with different hair types. If you take, for example, people who are on the extreme, people with super straight hair, people with super curly hair, people with the super straight hair can find that the hair just pings back to super straight and is not so inclined to lock up because it's not so inclined to form knots. Whereas people with the super curly hair, they can find that because of the way that the hair naturally bunches up, the hair is going to knot easier. It does not in any way mean that people with straight hair can't have dreadlocks or people with curly hair are going to get better dreadlocks, because there are going to be differences between two people with curly hair. There are going to be differences between two people with straight hair. There are other factors at play, but generally people who have hair that is slightly curlier are going to have an advantage over people who have super straight hair. Rian Moseley asks, question, I've been looking and looking but can't find any guys with dyed dreads. Is this some sort of taboo for guys to dye their dreads? Would you ever dye your dreads? If you have not found any pictures of guys with dyed dreads, you're probably not looking all that hard. No. It's certainly true that you're going to find more pictures of girls with dyed dreads, I'm sure. I've never looked and sort of statistically worked out this many girls for this many guys, but you have to think of it in the same way that you've most likely seen a lot more girls with regular straight hair dyed versus guys with dyed hair. Girls just tend to dye their hair a lot more than guys. You only have to go to the store, look for where the dyes are in the store, and it will be a girl on every single box. That's just kind of the way that dyes go. It's not a taboo. You can dye your dreadlocks whatever color that you personally want them to be dyed. It all depends on what you want to do with your own hair and what you're looking for. Would I personally dye my dreadlocks? This one here that you can still see is lighter than the surrounding hair. I dyed that before Christmas last year. I was challenged to dye it for my 1 year of Lazydreads, challenge video. I took challenges and someone suggested that I should dye dreadlock. So if you checked out any of my videos really late 2013 and early 2014, this will have been purple, getting pinker, 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 pinker until now it's just sort of bleached. That's pretty much as far as I would go regarding dyeing my hair. I quite liked having the wand, but there's no way that I'd really be motivated to dye them all. Alannah Reischl asks, question, hello, I recently backcombed all of my hair about a week ago and I see that most of the dreads are falling out badly. I have fine hair. Would that have an effect at all? Should I put some sort of gel in it to keep that hair in? When you first put in dreadlocks, if you start your dreadlocks using the method where you put them in, whether it's twist and rip back comb or something else, you will find that they loosen. They generally will not stay as tight as they are on the very first day. They will relax and some people freak out and think they're coming out, and in some cases they do actually come out. It all comes down to how many knots were put in. Having fine hair does not inhibit you from having dreadlocks. It has an effect on how thick the dreadlocks are and how many you have. It should not have a huge effect on whether you can put them in or not. The hair length, how conditioned, moisturized it is, and how good you are at your chosen method are going to have a much greater effect on whether the dreadlocks stay in. I would not recommend using gel to hold things together. Dreadlocks are formed from knots, so hairs that have moved past each other, knotted together, and you get knot after knot after knot until you have this long knotted structure, rope-like knotted structure. A gel would hold the hairs in place, and you could sort of stick hairs so that they look like they're knotted together in sort of a gel-held structure, but gels will stop the hairs from being able to move, so it will stop the hairs from actually being able to form new knots, and so it won't actually help the dreads progress any further, and will in fact actually slow them down, and when the gel comes out, so will all the hairs that were held together by that gel. Chloe365 asks, question, would you say that being 16 is too young for someone to get dreadlocks, and would it be better to wait a few more years before beginning the dreads? Is 16 too young to start dreadlocks? I don't think anyone is in a position to say one way or the other. People can have opinions on it. I started my dreadlocks before I was 16, started my dreadlocks when I was just about to turn 15. I know there are people out there who started their dreadlocks much earlier than that, and other people that started them around the same age, as well as people, of course, who've started them much later. There is no perfect age for starting dreadlocks. Whatever age you are, there are going to be things that could potentially get in the way, and situations where dreadlocks are not going to really help you. At 16, the stumbling blocks, maybe, you know, school, family, etc. As you get older, maybe it's college, university, jobs, there's never going to be a perfect time to start them. Different people are going to be in different situations, and certain situations are of course going to be more dreadlock friendly than others, but it comes down to the individual person and their personal sort of environment and situation, etc. So I would not say that being 16 is inherently too young to start dreadlocks. It just depends on what's going on in your life while you're being 16. Leah Christopher asks how to fix dreads that are thick at the ends but regular/thinner at the roots. There are many situations that can lead to dreadlock tips being thicker than the roots. With regards to fixing it, if it's something that is aesthetically displeasing to you, it's not something that, you know, technically needs fixing, but if you don't like the way it looks, I would personally not recommend trying to do anything to fix it, because, you know, the hair's knotted up, it's fine, but if you don't like the way it looks, you can wait until the dreadlocks grow out and cut off the thicker bit if you really want. There's not really many ways to take a dreadlock that's thick and make it thinner, and you could cut a bit off, but I'm not really sure you'd want to do that, because the dreadlock bit that's left will be a lot weaker than the bit that you cut off, because it's sort of severed links when you chop a bit off. If the dreadlocks are still young, if they're still soft and still getting tighter, you can try and encourage them to lock up a bit more evenly. In the same way that people try and encourage lumps, bumps and loops to kind of flatten out, you can palm roll the dreadlocks as they're drying. A lot of the shrinking takes place while the dreadlocks are drying after they've been washed and the hair is oil free. So some people have found that employing a palm rolling motion can help even out that shrinkage and may lead to the dreadlocks thinning out a little bit, or, you know, just tightening up in a way that is more even throughout. Most drying routines involve towels being rubbed against the dreadlock anyway, so you're normally having some sort of similar motion without having to physically go in and say, this is palm rolling time. But, you know, if the dreadlocks are young, generally most problems will work themselves out. As the dreadlocks go on, they will loosen and tighten, and as they loosen and tighten, they will generally sort of even themselves out. They get loosened from being washed, and then they'll tighten back up. And if you start deep cleaning the dreadlocks with some oils in, that can loosen the hair a bit with the conditioning, and again, it will just sort of even out a little bit over time. But the original length is always going to be slightly different to the new growth. Those are my questions for this week. If you'd like to ask me a question to be answered in the Dreadlock Q&A, you can leave it down in the comment section. Please write question at the start of your comment and it will join the queue. Or you can join the Facebook page at facebook.com/Lazydreads. Each week I ask for Q&A questions there also, and the question that gets the most likes will be answered that week without having to join the YouTube queue. If you liked this video, if you found it helpful, useful, informative, entertaining, you can click the like button. If you'd like to see more videos from me in the future, you can of course subscribe if you're looking for dreadlocks tips, help, advice, tutorials, guides, videos, questions being answered. Videos including this one, you can find all my stuff on lazydreads.com. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you again next time. Farewell!